This is a 13 Weather Impact Alert.
Good Tuesday evening, West Michigan. The time just after 9 o'clock here in the evening. Of course, well, we have some snow on the way. You might have heard by now that we have some snow expected as we make our way into tomorrow, especially in the afternoon, evening hours tomorrow. And some of those impacts will linger through Thursday morning. So we're going to kind of go through this step by step. We're going to talk about some of the impacts that we're looking at, the current alerts, the overall setup of what's ongoing right now as we're pushing towards the end of today, and then kind of a look at some various models, stuff that we look at, stuff that's kind of given us to our current forecast over the last 48 hours or so. So of course, yeah, we got snow on the way tomorrow, and the biggest difference with tomorrow's storm, and saying the word storm, I want to use that kind of loosely here, because is this going to be a milk and bread type of storm? Absolutely not. We're in West Michigan. We know how it goes in terms of snowfall, but this will be enough snow later tomorrow to definitely be noticeable and enough to cause some issues on the roadways. And that's why there's a winter weather advisory in place from the National Weather Service. You might have recalled yesterday there was a winter storm watch in effect across much of West Michigan, really the entirety of West Michigan, extending eastward into the Thumb, Metro Detroit. This is an upgrade from the National Weather Service, this winter weather advisory. They could have made the decision to do the advisory, which they did, or a winter storm warning. And of course, we're not expecting snowfall amounts to get out of hand, at least in a 12 or 24-hour span, to warrant a winter storm warning. I'll have to double check, but I believe here in West Michigan it's for more than 6 inches of snow in a 12-hour period, or 8 inches in a 24-hour period. We're going to be right on that threshold, but for the most part they went on the other side of the coin and went to a winter weather advisory. But notice the timing there. 1 o'clock in the afternoon is when it kicks off, and it goes all the way until 7 in the morning on Thursday, so just before daybreak. But as we're going to show in a little bit, the expectation is for the heaviest snow to be in about a 6-hour span, roughly from late afternoon tomorrow into the mid-evening hours. And this is what we're looking at from a travel perspective, because that's going to be our biggest impact from this system, are the roads. No doubt about it. We're not expecting power outages. We're not expecting any ice. Winds will be manageable. So all in all, this is just a classic snowmaker. From a travel perspective, no issues Wednesday morning. But really late in the afternoon Wednesday and that evening commute Wednesday, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, that's when we're expecting those conditions to be a bit on the tricky side, no doubt about it. And it'll be pretty widespread because, again, this is system snow. I think that's the biggest difference compared to all the other events we've had this winter season. We've talked so much about lake effect snow, where it just varies mile to mile. Some spots could see a foot of snow. You go down to your friend's house 5 miles away and they got half of what you saw. This is system snow and will be pretty uniform for many spots in terms of accumulation. So Wednesday evening, definitely think impacts on the roads will be pretty high. And then we'll see some of this linger into Thursday morning. And while the snow itself will start to wrap up Thursday morning, the system snow at least, we'll talk more about the lake effect that comes in Thursday. But I could definitely see those secondary, the back roads, the dirt roads, they're going to remain a little dicey, especially if they haven't been plowed. I think that's where we're going to remain with some of those impacts Thursday morning. And then slowly but surely Thursday, we'll see some improvement. First things first, there's our weather ball. It's blinking green. Obviously, we have some snow in sight. But as we go through the rest of tonight, there's really no issues here from a weather standpoint. A little bit of cloud coverage coming in. By the way, if you want to take a step outside after the stream, of course, after I'm done rambling for 20-some minutes, you can go still see the full moon. The full moon is actually tomorrow, the February full moon. I was able to see it just a little bit ago, still kind of filtering through some of the clouds that are drifting overhead. That's a nice sight in the eastern half of the sky. But regardless, this is what we're going to see the rest of tonight. It's just a mostly cloudy, overcast sky, pretty straightforward. And this is tomorrow morning. So your kids are going to have school tomorrow, no doubt about it. The snow will come in late in the day, or late towards the school day. But whether you're taking the kids to the bus stop, school, you're heading to work, you got errands to run in the morning tomorrow, not much is going to be ongoing. We're going to stay quiet all the way to about 10, 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. But this is the big picture overall, and this is our surface map, putting all the fronts and pressure systems on there. It's a pretty complicated map that's ongoing right now. Notice across the eastern half of the country, let's put my pointer here, a lot of activity ongoing here. We have a low pressure system itself, drawing in a lot of moisture from the Gulf, trailing cold front that's allowing some cold air to spill on the eastern side of the Appalachians. So this is allowing a good amount of snow right now across our nation's capital towards the east coast, parts of West Virginia, Virginia itself, Delaware, into New Jersey. This is not the system that's going to provide us with snow tomorrow. It's this system all the way back near the Four Corners. This is what's going to provide our snow chance tomorrow. And you can kind of see some moisture that's coming off to the north of this system. That's the beginning of our system tomorrow. It's starting to get its act together across the Central Plains. This is going to take a storm track. So this is the storm track of low pressure really over the next, we'll say 36 hours or so. This is going to take kind of a pretty classic setup for us to see accumulating snow. So again, this is not going to be a historic storm by any means, but in terms of its track, this is always a favorable track for us to see snowfall across the lower peninsula. Let me get my pointer again. There it is. So this is going to take there we go. This is going to take a storm track through the southern plains and then lift north and eastward as this system tries to intensify. That's what's going to allow this to shoot up to the north and east through the Tennessee River Valley, up into the Ohio River Valley. And so what happens is that you got low pressure itself. I'll drag this over here. This is going to be by, we'll say, midnight tomorrow. And what happens is that you get cold air on the backside of this system because, well, the flow around low pressure is counterclockwise. So you got moisture drawing in from the south, and then you got cold air coming in on the backside of this system, and that's what's going to allow precipitation to remain as snow. And that's going to be the case pretty much for a solid chunk of the lower peninsula. So we're going to see snow here in West Michigan. Those on the east side of the state that haven't seen much snow throughout this season, they're going to see accumulating snow. And that's kind of the overall setup. You can kind of see out ahead of this system all of the alerts, the winter storm warning shaded in pink. That includes, obviously much of Kansas into Missouri, Iowa, western Illinois, a little bit on the lakeshore here in Wisconsin. And the reasoning for that is because the wind tomorrow is going to be out of the north and east. And they're going to see some lake enhancement off of Lake Michigan. Obviously, we see that all the time with a more common northwest wind, but tomorrow's flow will be out of the north and east. So that's why some of the lakeshore counties on Wisconsin are under a winter storm warning, and we're just under a winter weather advisory because we won't see much in the way of lake effect, at least tomorrow into a chunk of tomorrow night. Notice up towards parts of Metro Detroit, the thumb still, they are still shaded in that blue coloring. They're still under a winter storm watch. The National Weather Service office of Detroit still hasn't made a call to upgrade those areas on the east side of the state to a warning or just an advisory like we are here in West Michigan. So for those that are joining us, it's now 9:10 or so. We're just kind of breaking down a little bit of the hour-by-hour forecast here, and we're going to get into snow totals in a little bit and kind of go from there. Just kind of our latest thoughts on what we're thinking. I've been kind of saying this all day long. Initially, yesterday, we were thinking for some pretty solid snowfall. I mean, we still are, but at least for our standards, we've seen some of the snowfall totals a little less compared to 24 hours ago, our thinking. But when it's all said and done, I think everyone will see several inches of snow and a good fresh snowpack as we wake up Thursday. But let's get into it. This is our hour-by-hour forecast for tomorrow. So as we talked about just a few minutes ago, tomorrow morning is quiet. But once we get into tomorrow midday, 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, that's when snow will arrive. And I think this is going to be moving in pretty quickly. It won't take long for snow to reach the ground and accumulate. We've been below freezing, near or below freezing at least the last couple nights, and temperatures tonight are actually falling into the teens, into the single digits. So road temperatures are going to be cold. This won't take long to start accumulating on the roads. And this is the kind of the look right here around, notice this, 3, 4, 5 o'clock, see those darker shades of blue right there? That's indicating some of that heavier snowfall, those pockets of heavier snowfall. And that's when we're really going to start to see accumulation pick up in the late afternoon into the early evening. So this is around 5 o'clock tomorrow. You can see these darker shades of blue. That's indicating at least some moderate snowfall. And I wouldn't be surprised, especially here in these darker shades of blue, you could be picking up almost an inch per hour as they pass by. So once we get into the Wednesday evening commute, 5, 6 o'clock, we're going to see some quick accumulation on the roads, and things are going to start getting a little tricky out there. This will continue for a few hours late Wednesday into, or I should say Wednesday afternoon into Wednesday evening. Notice once we get to past about 8, 9 o'clock, start seeing a little more pockets in the snow, and that's the one thing we'll have to keep an eye on. If we don't see that tomorrow evening and we see a steady snowfall through 8, 9, 10 o'clock, we could have a solid chance of overachieving snowfall compared to our current thoughts. But as of now, it seems like we'll start to see the snow break up a little bit once we pass 8 o'clock or so, and this is around 10. You know, still indicating at least some scattered snowfall, and that time's a little bit on the heavier side. But once we get past 8 o'clock or so in the evening, we'll start to see the snow become scattered in coverage. The intensity overall will be a bit lighter. And then once we pass midnight, notice how quickly that system peeled out of here. I'm going to kind of go a little slower here. That's 10 o'clock. Look how quickly this peels out of here. And that's been one change in this overall system, I think, since our initial thoughts earlier yesterday and even over the weekend when we were first talking about this system. Our initial thoughts were that we were going to see snow last pretty consistently through Wednesday night. This overall system is sped up a little bit. That's why our heaviest snow is now coming in into the mid to late afternoon. And this is peeling out of here pretty quickly after midnight tomorrow into the early hours of Thursday. So you can see that this is around 2 in the morning and the system snow is even peeling out of the east side of the state. This is a quick moving system. That's another reason why this is going to prevent us from seeing a foot of snow. But look what happens on the backside of this system. Our winds are going to start turning. I'm going to stop this here at about 6 o'clock right here. Our winds behind this system are going to turn to the north and west. See those arrows right here coming out of the north and west. And we're going to see a little bit of a shot of colder air behind this system. And we will see a kick off of Lake Michigan in the way of lake effect snow. I do think that the lake shore early Thursday morning could see some brief hour or two of some dicey conditions with the lake effect coming in and those winds picking up out of the north and west. And notice that lake effect kind of spreads fans inland over the course of Thursday morning. And then finally, once we get past the afternoon, that's out of here and we're back under quiet skies. So our thinking right now, this is our snowfall map. We haven't really budged from this. Is a broad 5 to 7 inches in many spots, at least everyone shaded in this dark blue. So we're talking Holland, Grand Rapids, up towards Greenville, Ionia. This is the Hastings area, and then down towards Kalamazoo. Many spots in that 5 to 7 inch range, roughly from a Muskegon, Big Rapids line back to the south and east. We're not going to waver too much from this, I think, at this point of the forecast. When we talk about forecasting snow, sometimes you just got to live or die by the sword, and I think this is what we're going to hold on to, and we'll just see how it goes. No need to keep adjusting. We're just going to go with what our gut's telling us now. But from Muskegon, Big Rapids back to the north and west towards Pentwater, Ludington, into the Baldwin area. And again, this is really focused on the system snow. I think you're only going to see on the order of 3 to 5 inches of snow. Now, you might pick up, especially in Pentwater and Ludington, an additional inch or two on Thursday with some of that lake effect coming through. If you're watching from the Muskegon area, Fremont, Big Rapids, you're like, I'm right on that line. What does that mean? I think you're going to hover close to that 5 inch mark, that 4 or 5 inch mark at least. And then the better opportunity, for 5 to 7 inches, is everyone shaded in dark blue. If there's an area that could overachieve, and starting to see a little bit of consistency in the model data, which we'll get to, I think south and east of Grand Rapids has a fair shot of maybe overachieving of that 5 to 7 inch range. I think places like Ionia, down towards Hastings, for example, even Kalamazoo towards Battle Creek. I think this area right here and extending north and east a little bit outside, obviously outside of our area, towards Lansing into the Tri-Cities a little bit. I think this is an area that could overachieve and might sneak out a spot or two on that 8-9 inch range when it's all said and done. That's just my gut feeling based on what's been going on. But I wouldn't be surprised south and east of Grand Rapids, someone slightly overachieves that 5 to 7 inch range. This is some of the model data that we've been looking at and really for the last several days now, analyzing run by run and the setup and stuff. This is the European model. This is a global model, so we've been watching this storm system since the middle of last week with the European model. It's been ebbing and flowing in terms of amounts over the last few days, but it seems pretty locked in on this solution, and this is running out to noon on Friday. Just notice that obviously that darker shade of blue, which is trying to indicate 6 or more inches of snow, definitely from just outside of a Holland, Grand Rapids, Ionia line back to the thumb to the south and east. Little less to the north and west, but not by much. Pretty uniform there. This is the North American model, and I'm just going to go to the end of this model right here, and we'll go back to this in a second. But notice kind of a similar look here, and this is all we're trying to look for in model data at this point when we're 24 hours out. We're just trying to look for consistency. We're trying to look for some confidence in these totals because each model initializes the atmosphere in a different way. So that's why they're individual models. And so you can kind of see a similar look here that, roughly from that Holland and just north of Grand Rapids, outside of Big Rapids to the south and east, everything shaded in dark blue through Thursday morning, there's a better opportunity of, a half foot or more of snow. A little less as you go north and west of that Muskegon Big Rapids line, not as aggressive in terms of accumulation. This is our in-house model, the graph. It does an okay job. We use this kind of a good amount in our hour-by-hour forecast. This goes all the way, let's get this out to the same kind of timeline here, about 11 o'clock or so. Notice not as aggressive in terms of snowfall. This is the new run that just actually came in. And this has been kind of going all over the place, but kind of in that 4 to 5 inch range. And I think this would be the lower end of totals that are possible. If we underperform somewhat with this system, say we just don't see as much snow as what we're thinking, I think this could be a likelier outcome, right at many spots in that 4 to 5 inch range. Obviously, not a bad job per se in terms of forecasting, but this wouldn't be anything impressive for our standards. But notice this is also having much of the east side of the state the same as well, so it doesn't give me much confidence that the west side and the east side of the state would be very similar. I do think there's going to be a localized band somewhere where there's some locally higher amounts. Then we get to the HRRR, the HRRR model, however you want to pronounce it. This is a very high resolution model. And this model is only goes out 48 hours, so we've only had a few runs of it that goes out for this whole system. And you can kind of see a similar view of compared to the European model, which we showed, the NAM, which is the North American model, that roughly from that Holland, Grand Rapids line back just to the south and east of Mount Pleasant, eastward towards the east side of the state, there's that potential for 6+ inches and a little bit less as you make your way north of Muskegon towards the Ludington area. I do want to say, though, this only goes till 7 in the morning on Thursday. If I keep extending this out, notice it's picking up on some of that lake effect. It's a high resolution model, and it does really well with lake effect. So while it's indicating lesser amounts north of Muskegon, it is picking up on some decent lake effect snow briefly Thursday morning into the midday and evening everyone out when you combine the system and lake effect aspect of snow the next 2 days or so. Even gets, by the end of Wednesday, it's getting Ludington, Fremont, Muskegon close to that half-foot mark. So, it's going to be one of those situations. I think many are going to be in a similar boat snow-wise, how much we see. It's just a matter of really how much can we get to a half foot and can we overachieve that. The last part, of this is that anytime we talk about snowfall, we always got to look at the wind, and the snow itself is going to be not concrete. It's not going to be a wet, heavy snow, but it's also not going to be very fluffy that we can sometimes see, or very fine in lake effect setups. I think this is going to be a pretty textbook snowfall. It's going to be packable, but it won't be like you're shoveling concrete per se. So pretty normal. I don't think that we're going to see too many issues in terms of blowing or drifting snow. Wednesday afternoon, we might have some gusts up to 20, 25 miles per hour. It's not too bad. I think Thursday, though, even though the bulk of the snow will be done with, we will see some wind gusts as Thursday goes on in excess of 30, maybe even 35 miles per hour at the lakeshore. Could see some blowing and drifting snow with that fresh snowpack as Thursday goes on. So just something that we'll have to keep an eye on, especially if we're going to contend with some lake effect on Thursday itself. Visibility could be reduced and such. So again, for those that might be joining in, we've been talking for about 20 minutes or so. We're still anticipating the snow to arrive just after midday tomorrow, 12, 1 o'clock. Really picks up as the afternoon goes on, and kind of honing in on that 3, 4 o'clock time frame to around, let's say, 8, 9 o'clock, that 4 to 6 hour stretch in the late afternoon into the early evening. That's going to be our best potential to really stack up the snow. Once we get past 8, 9 o'clock in the evening, snow's going to taper off pretty quickly. I don't think we're going to see snow last too much longer after that, and especially once we get past midnight, the system snow will be quick to be out of here, and then we'll have some lingering lake effect Thursday morning into the midday hours. Of course, from a travel standpoint, that's going to make the evening commute, that's going to be the roughest part. But as I've been saying all day, is this a go to the grocery store and pile up? No, not at all. This is going to be very manageable for our standards, but it's enough to definitely be noticeable, and it's definitely going to be different than what we've seen much of the season, because this is not, for the most part, lake effect outside of what happens Thursday. Everyone's going to get a fair shot of a fresh snowpack on Thursday, and we've seen a good amount of the snowpack melt away these past few weeks. I don't know if I'll find my graphic. Here it is. This is actually an estimated look at the snowpack, and it's pretty meager at this point. Still holding, again, this is an estimation, so it's not per se, but you can see still holding on to the lakeshore. Okay snowpack, but once you get inland, there's really a limited snowpack in many spots. Really, you kind of have to go to the shaded parts of the ground to see any true snowpack. Definitely seeing a lot more brown grass lately than any true snowpack. I think the other thing that we'll keep an eye on this week, the snow's not going to stop after Thursday. We're going to have more opportunities of snow in this forecast. So of course, that's Thursday, and as we get into Friday night into Saturday, this is going to be our next watch. We could be dealing with a little bit of a elongated period of snow Thursday, or I should say Friday night into Saturday. Notice this is Friday night into Saturday morning, quick burst of snow coming through, and then it looks like we're going to have a front situated near us over the weekend. And we're going to be on the colder side of this front. And just depending on how things go, we might be contending with some snowfall on the order of several more inches as we get into Saturday itself. Not going to throw out numbers at all, because I just want to get through tomorrow into Thursday, see how that goes. But definitely this weekend, I think we could have some additional impacts from snowfall. And then on top of it, beyond the weekend snow chance, we are going to see another blast of cold air. This is the 6 to 10 day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center, and everything that's shaded in blue there is a better opportunity of below average temperatures. Now, This is for the 17th through the 21st, so this is mostly next week. On average, we're now at the point of the year, by the way, where our average high and low are on the increase. We're past that point of winter. It might not feel like it, but we are on the back half of winter now. There is not a lot of winter left once you get past February. In fact, Grand Rapids only averages 9 more inches of snow between March and April. We definitely can obviously see a lot of winter in March, and even in April, we know how it can go in a given year, but on average, we just don't see a lot of snowfall outside of maybe an impactful storm. We just don't get enough in March and April, and we start sneaking in better days. But at least through the 17th through the 21st of February, so next week, our average is 34 to 35 for the high, 20 to 21 for the low. We are going to be well below that. In fact, we'll pull up the 7-day here. As we get to next Monday and Tuesday, we're only thinking daytime highs in the teens, and that might be too high at this point. There's some data coming in that it might be a struggle to climb out of the single digits as next week goes on, at least Monday, Tuesday, into next Wednesday. We could easily see nighttime lows near zero, maybe a little bit below that for everyone. So, yeah, a lot of winter still to go, at least over the next week or two. That's not changing. But that's kind of the gist of what we're at right now. You know, for those that have been listening to me to ramble for the last 25 minutes or so, this is what we're thinking. I think we're going to stick to it. Chief Meteorologist Samantha Jack, she's going to be in tomorrow morning bright and early. She'll kind of look at the last data before this system comes in, but I think we are feeling pretty good that we're just going to go with this and see how it goes. Sometimes you just kind of have to let Mother Nature do its job and either win it or lose it in terms of a forecast. And this is what we're thinking right now, that broad 5 to 7 inches of snow, especially from Muskegon, Big Rapids down to the south and east, a little less north and west of that line. And again, this is mostly just the system snow coming in Wednesday into early Thursday. There is the potential up and down the lakeshore for some additional accumulation throughout Thursday because of lake effect. But this is what we're thinking. And, you know, maybe if you have travel plans to the east side of the state, I know that question gets asked a lot. They are going to see roughly the same amount of snow, that 5 to 8, 9 inch range. The east side of the state has a better opportunity, you know, the Lansing area towards Flint, the Howell area into parts of the Tri-Cities into the Thumb. Better opportunity there for maybe some higher amounts, you know, 6, 7, 8 plus inches of snow. But we have that winter weather advisory, 1 in the afternoon through 7 in the morning on Thursday. That's been kind of consistent now, and definitely just kind of keep messaging that Wednesday late afternoon into the evening is going to be our highlight of this storm, if you want to call it a storm. Might be just a regular Monday for you if you're in the lake effect belts, but this is kind of what we're thinking later Wednesday, and then some lingering impacts on those back roads on Thursday in the morning. So we've been kind of talking for a good 30 minutes now. You know, I think for the most part, right now, through tonight, pretty quiet. I do want to look at the numbers right now, though. Jacob, look at this. Jacob's our floor director. I want to show him this. He's always interested in the weather. Look at Ludington right now, sitting at 0. A little bit of a cold night to the north. A little bit lower than I was thinking, that's for sure. You know, from Muskegon, Grand Rapids, Ionia, we're only going to fall into the teens tonight. We got some extra cloud coverage coming in, but I think with enough of a clear sky, and the wind's actually coming out of the north and east, so what that does, it doesn't allow you to have that influence off of Lake Michigan. We could see some of these spots along US 10. Big Rapids, I wouldn't be surprised too. These temperatures might fall off a little bit over the next few hours before they rebound late in the night with some of that cloud coverage coming in. Yeah, that's interesting right there, sitting at the goose egg up in Ludington. Let's get a better, I just actually want to see what it's looking like. Yeah, look at that. This is Ironwood. Look at that, 13 below 0. A little cold. Yeah, big difference. And you can see even outside of the interior or outside of Ludington, Traverse City sitting at 3. But I guarantee right now, parts of, I'm going to actually just look at -3, yeah. Is that -3? Let's just see something. Traverse City is sitting at 3 degrees, 3 above 0. Houghton Lake is sitting at 2. Let's see what Gaylord's sitting at. They don't have a reading right now, but Cadillac is sitting at 6 below. Cadillac is at 6 below. So a little colder for our friends up in the Northwoods, and especially as you get up into the UP. Yeah, chilly night. But again, to wrap this all up, we've been talking for a half hour now. A little bit of fun there. I've been rambling too much. Winter weather advisory, bottom line, if you have out and about plans tomorrow evening, you might want to hold off just because roads are going to be messy. And while this isn't the biggest snowstorm we've seen by any means, it is going to be enough to impact travel. There's just no way around it, especially with the nature of this system being widespread. It's not lake effect where it can vary place to place. Everyone's going to see some accumulation tomorrow. And if we're right in our forecast, I think many spots will close in around 5-6 inches of snow, a few localized spots in that 7-inch range. So we'll see how it goes tomorrow. Regardless, we'll get through it, and then we'll keep an eye on our next system as we get into the weekend. Yeah, winter isn't stopping anytime soon. All right, everyone, it's 9:33. We're going to get off of this stream, catch myself and Juliet Dragas as we go into the 11 o'clock news later this evening, and we'll have you covered with everything here on 13 on your side. Have a good one, everyone.
This has been a 13 Weather Impact Alert.